Hello, good evening, farmers. You are welcome to our Exotic Green Power Enterprises Limited page. We interacted a long time ago, but today we need to talk again so that we move forward. Our company is manufacturing what is known as hyperfeed organic fertilizer and biological pesticides, which have become part of the core businesses that we are doing, apart from private extension services that we have been providing to the smallholder farmers. So then what we have just realized is that if we are to do this, we need to also give you some insights and the concept behind what we are doing. I will talk about the comparison. I will compare two things today. I will talk about the comparison between the synthetic fertilizer as well as the organic fertilizer in terms of the utilization and the plant uptake. When you apply what we call synthetic fertilizer, the fertilizer comes into the soil, and once it has come in contact with the water, then the chemical compounds which are known as NPK will run away from the medium, that stone which is visibly seen the time you are applying the fertilizer. These are micro elements which cannot be seen with your naked eyes. They will go to the soil, and as they go to the soil, they need to be absorbed by the plant through the root system, and the plant will take them to the leaves. And as the plant takes them to the leaves, then automatically what happens is that the leaves will actually do the production of the food of using those raw materials during the process known as photosynthesis. Now, there are a number of factors that are put into consideration for this fertilizer to work very well. The first thing is the pH in the soil. When the crop that you have planted where you are applying that fertilizer is very sensitive to the pH, and the pH is not according to the optimal requirement of that particular plant, what happens is that there is the electrical conductivity, which is the main center of attraction between the root and the fertilizer that has been applied become dormant. So as a result, the fertilizer can be present, but it cannot be taken all of it by the plant. We call that scientifically the fertilizer is present but not available for the plant. So those are the complications that happen with the synthetic fertilizer when it is applied in the soil and when the pH is not according to the specs that are required. So you can see that you have got a number of things that are happening there, because one, your fertilizer should be in a readily available form in order for it to be taken by your plants. Now, unlike the synthetic fertilizer, which have got to go through all those processes, excuse me, there's organic fertilizer in a readily available form, because usually the organic fertilizers, they are not controlled by the pH because of their formulation. They are biological products which are usually enhanced by what we call the microbial properties. Our hyperfeed organic fertilizer that we make will work in the soil using what we call the microbial properties. The fertilizer deposit what we call the mycorrhiza bacteria into the soil and then provide them with the food. After the mycorrhiza bacteria have been provided with food, then the bacteria start multiplying in number and increase. By increasing, they become the agents which are working on the soil humus. So when you are using the organic fertilizer to feed your crop in the field, you are not feeding the crop directly, but you are feeding the soil. The soil feeds the microbial properties, which are known as microorganisms, and the microorganisms are the ones which begins now to feed your soil. That way, your soil becomes so active because it becomes live soil. The microorganisms, which are known as bacteria or mycorrhiza bacteria, when they multiply into your soil, they start feeding, and as they are feeding, they start working on your soil humus. They help your plants to have optimal moisture requirement. I mean, the moisture content that is required by the plant. They also help the soil to bring up the nutrients that are required in your soil, so that the plant is not starved and the plant is not dehydrated. That way you find there's a balance, there's equilibrium in your soil for your crop production. And then the other thing that happens is that when you provide what we call the biological fertilizers in your soil, like our hyperfeed organic fertilizer and our lactic acid bacillus that we formulate here, the other thing that happens is that these properties, because they are in organic form, they are biological, they have no effect on your soil because they have got no residue. So because they have no residue, what that means is that your soils will become very active. They rejuvenate your soil such that you can farm yourself your children and your great-grandchildren, there is no effect that happens to your soil compared to the synthetic fertilizers, which when you abuse them, because most of us abuse those synthetic fertilizers, so as a result, we end up destroying our soil because of applying too much compound fertilizers, which we don't apply according to the specifications. Now, where did this all come from? I want to share with you the background history about this. With me here, I'm seated with my calculator, so that most of the time I'll be referring to what I'm talking to you to the calculator, so that we move together. A very good example. When the scientists understood that they needed to use what we call the compound fertilizers in the soil, what happened was that the first thing that happened was they had to understand the amount of fertilizer that should be applied in the soil for that particular plant to take. So the first thing that was happening was that they needed to understand exactly how much of that fertilizer was required by that plant at what time. Let's take, for example, the cheap crop to grow, which is maize, our staple food here in Zambia. Usually when you are planning for the maize, you are required to buy 4 bags of D-compound and 4 bags of urea. When you look at D-compound, you discover that it has got the elements which are free in nature, and these are nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. The level of nitrogen in D-compound, which is a base dressing for maize, is 10%. And then it has got 20% phosphorus, and it has got again 10% potassium nitrate. So the NPK content for D-compound fertilizer, which is the fertilizer we use to grow the maize, is the NPK is 10-20-10. And then the next thing that happens is that the maize is fed with another fertilizer, which is known as the top dressing, which is urea. Urea has got 0 potassium, 0 phosphorus, but 46% nitrogen. Now, by now, you understand that nitrogen is a protein for the plant. That's the reason why each time you apply your urea in your maize, the maize grows so fast and become vegetative, because you have given it the protein. So the time you are giving your plant those fertilizers, they were calculated specifically for for crops like maize. So the time you are going to apply that fertilizer, first of all, you don't have a guarantee that all of it will be used as it's supposed to be used. The other thing that you need to understand is that there is a specific quantity that fertilizer that the plant is supposed to take from the science point of view. First of all, when they came up with the ratio, which they gave you 4 bags D-compound, 4 bags urea, they had to look at some kind of arithmetical figures, which most of you people don't know up to now. What they did at that time when they were calculating the hectare of maize, they calculated on a hectare which had a standard plant population of 40,000 plants in a hectare. So when they calculated the population of 40,000 plants in a hectare, the next thing that they did, they had to understand what was the actual requirement of a plant, and they discovered that the plant actually of maize needed only a teaspoon of fertilizer, which is 5 grams of D-compound fertilizer and 5 grams of urea. So those were the requirements of this fertilizer at that time when they were doing the calculation based on a hectare which had a plant population of 40,000 plants. So what they did some arithmetic which are very simple to do. They multiplied 40,000 times 5. It gave them, I'm calculating now, 40,000. This is what they did. They got 5 grams multiplied by 40,000. It gave them exactly 200,000 grams. The 200,000 grams, they had to divide this by a ton, 1,000 kilos. It gave them exactly 200 kgs. The 200 kgs, which they divided by 50 kgs, which the unit of carrying your fertilizer, because the fertilizer is carried in 50 kg bag, they found 4 bags. So the 4 bags that you learn, they came with an application rate of 5 grams per kg per plant or per planting station of your maize. That is how they came up with this. But what do you know about it? You can see that from the way you apply your fertilizer in the field, there is a lot of variation because you don't follow these measurements. You are actually applying fertilizer in the wrong way of doing things. You apply too much fertilizer, which is not evenly distributed. You are not putting 40 grams. You are not putting 5 grams per plant. So when that fertilizer goes into the soil, what happens? Maybe that's another science that we need to understand as farmers, because this is responsible for our downfalls and the losses that we are incurring. So when you apply more fertilizer, which is more than 5 grams, what is the plant going to do at that stage? The plant is going to make use of 5 grams and the rest of the fertilizer that you have applied there. For example, when you apply 30 grams of the fertilizer, what will the plant do to that excess? The 25 grams will remain in the root zone. Sorry, excuse me, will remain in the root zone of your soil. As it remains in the root zone of your soil, that fertilizer will not be used up by your plant. So as the water continues to come there, it will continue to push that water beyond the root zone. That process is called leaching. So the fertilizer, 5 grams has worked, the remaining 25 grams from 30 grams that you have applied because of your carelessness has gone to waste. So where did it go? It has been wasted. Now, because that fertilizer has gone into the soil, which is a chemical compound, what does it do? It alters your pH. So most of our soils in Zambia are denatured because of wrong application of synthetic fertilizers. That's the reason why when you hear people generalizing, telling you fertilizer destroys the soil, this is exactly what they mean. Our soils have been destroyed because of the wrong application method of fertilizer. We put way too much fertilizer than what the plant needs. So as a result, that fertilizer changes our pH because those are chemical compounds which alters the pH in the soil. So from the science point of view, we have conducted over 2,000 tests of the soil pH in Zambia, and what we have discovered is that actually our soil pHs are on the negative side because the soils are very acidic. The alkaline levels are low and the the acid is very high. So as a result, that has affected on our yield. So what happens each time we plant the crop on this soil which has become denatured with a high level of acidity, most of the fertilizers that we continue to apply in the soil are not being used up by the plant because of the issues of electrical conductivity. That electricity which is sitting in the soil plays a very important role to dictate and to help the plant make use of the food that is present in the root zone. That is the reason why the food that is present in the soil, when the pH is wrong, it is not readily available by the plant. So it will be wasted. So as a result, you'll be spending millions and millions of money buying tonnage and tonnage of the fertilizer, which is not going to be used up by the plants. That in itself results into you not getting the best yield. I think this thing we have seen it very well. Most of the seed companies, they will tell you from our maize, you can get 13 metric tons, 12 metric tons of maize from here, if you follow the right procedures. And those procedures that they're going to talk to you about will be very superficial. They will tell you you need this number of fertilizer bags, your field must be weed-free, you should practice this culture and this culture. You do all those cultures. At the end of the day, you will discover that you don't even get half of the yield. The question that should come is, what went wrong with my field? Because I gave my crop the whole amount of fertilizer that was required as stipulated by the requirement of this particular crop. And I also controlled the weeds, but I never got the yield. The moisture content was okay. The rain pattern was good this time. Why didn't I get the best fertilizer? Why didn't I get the best yield in this? So your next thought of investigation to the soil pH should go to your soil pH. How is your soil pH? Is it conducive enough for the plant to be able to take the food? Or we have been heaping those tons and tons of fertilizer to a process known as leaching because those fertilizers are not available for your plants to take, because each time the electrical conductivity is suppressed by the acidity, then the fertilizer remains dormant there and the plant is not making use of it. So because of that, you realize that a lot of losses have been incurred because farmers cannot make the profit from there. So that's one of the reasons why our yields in Zambia have been going down for the past 2 decades now, because we don't understand the health of the soil, and as a result, we have ended up destroying our soils more and more by applying more and more of chemical compound in form of fertilizer. So as a result, the yields have been down. So we are not making any money. So then what are we supposed to do? Ultimately, we are supposed to start working around the crop to make sure that we start developing our soils. How do we develop our soils? The first thing that we need to do in developing our soils, we need to understand that naturally God created this soil to have what we call the microbial properties, which are called microbes or mycorrhiza bacteria. These bacteria have got a job that they do in the soil. But again, These bacteria, for them to survive in the soil, we need to harness them and nurture them, because if we don't, then we kill them by using wrong fertilizers, by using wrong chemicals. So we end up killing these bacteria, which are supposed to be helping in building up our soils. So because of that, then our soils become so denatured, and then at the end of the day, we have what we call the dead soils. So when your soils have become dead, you yourself as a farmer, you are growing the crops now, and that is a farm that you have purchased, you have got a title for it for 90 days. This soil is dead within 5 years. Where are your next generations going to farm from? Where are your children and grandchildren going to farm from the time you will not be on this planet Earth? They will have a land which has got a title with a full ownership, but that soil has already been killed. Most of you have heard of what we call the dead soils. So, because of all those things that happen, you realize that really the soil will die in the soil microbes will be killed. So now, what science are we doing as Exotic Green Power Enterprises Limited? Exotic Green Power Enterprises Limited has gone into an extensive science of revitalizing the mycorrhiza bacteria and other microorganisms in the soil by providing what we call the organic fertilizer, which has been enjoyed by most of the farmers across the country now. This organic fertilizer is made using what we call biological product. They have got no chemical compounds, and because of that, they are readily available for the plants, and the results can be seen immediately. The time the fertilizer is used, our fertilizer has been used in groundnuts, in maize, where a farmer spends only 1,200 kwacha to buy 40 liters of our Hyperfeed organic fertilizer. Their yield is better than better than for the one who has spent over 9,000 kwacha to buy 8 bags of synthetic fertilizer to apply in that soil. So our fertilizer has performed miracles. It is called the Hyperfeed organic fertilizer. The next time I'll be making the presentation here, I'll share with you all the photos and all the pictures of how our fertilizer has performed in the field. Then we have also looked at another thing which is very serious as we talk about these fertilizers. With fertilizers, we can do the control, and as we control the fertilizers, what do we see? We see the fertilizer being controlled. We can substitute the synthetic fertilizer with an organic fertilizer like a Hyperfeed organic fertilizer that we are doing. But what about the crop protection? Because the crop that you grow, the plant that you grow, is vulnerable to microorganisms which are known as diseases, and also as well as organisms, insects, the visible insect that you see with your naked eyes. All those affect your plants. So what are you supposed to do? You are supposed to use what we call the crop protection product, and these crop protection products are synthetic pesticides. Most of these synthetic pesticides that you see around it, they have got their own effect to your health. You as a consumer, excuse me, please. Let me do one thing here. Using is when these pesticides are abused, they cause those effects. Of course, they cause cancer, and probably that's the more reason why we have seen a lot of cancer cases raising up in Zambia. Some of them are attributed to the use of the pesticides. So when you look at that, what does it do? Then it rings a bell at the back of your mind that you need to find an alternative. And now, how do you find an alternative? If at all you are just seated like that, you're not doing any research. Our company has gone into extensive research. So far, so good. We have come up with a product on the market which is known as lactic acid bacillus. Lactic acid bacillus is a 5-in-1 product. It is a soil enhancer when it drenches in the soil. It's a fungicide. It kills all the soil-borne fungus. It is a bactericide. It kills all the bacteria in the soil when it is drenched. But all the same, it can also be used to kill all the insects and all the fungus and bacteria on your plant, including tomato. We have done some tests. One of the biggest problems that you have, especially those of you who grow crops like tomato, you have got tuta absoluta on your tomato. Our lactic acid bacillus has been able to kill the larva stage of the tuta absoluta, which is the most destructive part. We also tried our lactic acid bacillus on what is known as diamond backmoth for those of you who grow cabbage. You have observed that most of the time after you have grown your cabbage, what happens that time, you find that your cabbage actually has holes everywhere. And when you check thoroughly, you find something that looks like a maggot. It's a larva stage of a moth, a butterfly, which is called diamond bark moth. That is what is responsible for the destruction of that cabbage. Our lactic acid bacillus has also killed that pest, meaning that now we can safely say it's a product which can be used on the market to substitute these synthetic pesticides. We have gone ahead now to make sure that we bring in on board these are Zambian produced products which are able to feed the plant and kill and protect your crop and kill all the enemies of your plant. So far, we have got 2 products on the market. We are working around another culture which is known as a fungi culture. We are making another product which is called trichodema right in this office where I am. That's where this science is taking place. Now, let me show you something. I didn't plan to show you, but I'll show it to you. So, we are bringing a third product on the market, which is going to be also a biological product. Most of you who go out in the bush like me, you may find this type of mushroom. These mushrooms are found anywhere in the bush, in the forest. So these mushrooms are found in different colors. They are found in yellow. This particular one was yellow when we picked it in the bush. Sometimes they are found in white color. Sometimes they are found in brown color. Any color that you find these mushrooms are known as, what are they called? They are called tender fungus. So these tender fungus, we are grooming them in this house. There's a culture. In this office, there's a culture that we are doing. And as we are doing this culture, the next thing that is happening is that we are going to make another pesticide which you can use, which will be working hand in hand with lactic acid bacillus to kill all the insects, all the diseases that affect your crop. And these fungus, we are producing a product which is called trichodema. Trichodema is used mostly in India and other European countries as one of the biological pesticide, biological insecticide, biological fungicide, and biological bactericide, as well as some kind of organic fertilizer. That's another product that we are making. It will take us less than 6 weeks from now. This product will be on the market. So why are we telling you this? We just want to tell you that it is very much possible for you to go into organic farming without even attempting synthetic product, because the processes that we are doing here are providing a solution so that at the end of the day, you will be able to know, you will be able to do what? You'll be able to use the product, the biological product, and then grow the crops, and then sell the produce, which are very, very safe for human consumption. What you need to understand is that most of the people who are suffering from the cancer today, those who were exposed to pesticides, it did not happen on a single day. It was an accumulation of those pesticides into their bodies, which is known as chronic or terminal poisoning. So terminal toxicity or chronic toxicity took place at some point, and that's the reason why you have got those patients who have got cancer at the hospital. That's the reason why you have got those brain tumors. That's the reason why you have got those serious reproductive health problems. That's the reason why you have got those disabilities where your genes have been altered because of these synthetic fertilizers. Let's talk about the actual producers. Did they mean this to work like this? The answer is no. The people who manufactured these chemicals made them with a good faith, with an assumption that most of these chemicals are going to be used properly, but there is an abuse by you as smallholder farmers especially. You are abusing these chemicals. I will tell you hypothetically what you do out in the field. 99% of my time I spend it managing people's farms, because we provide private extension services across the country from Livingstone to Chiliabombwe, all the way up to Mansa, Kasama, everywhere. We go to these farms and we see how you farmers abuse these chemicals. So that's the more reason why, as we talk about this, we speak of it, we talk about it passionately, because we know, we see these things happening on a daily basis. How do you abuse those chemicals as farmers? And you as a consumer who is very comfortable, you are busy licking those tomatoes, enjoying those tomatoes. Do you know what these farmers are doing? I will tell you today what you probably didn't know. When the farmers grow a crop of tomato in the field, they spray with what we call fungicide, insecticide, acaricide are chemicals which kills acariaceae, a pest like red spider mite in the tomato field. They use the insecticide which will kill tuta absoluta, diamond, not in tomato, kill the bollworms, all those things they are going to do to kill. But you know what the small scale farmers do? The chemical that you use, every chemical that you are going to see, that chemical will have on the bottle. I'm giving you an example. This is not a pesticide chemical, it's a chili bottle. When you look down on this chemical, it has got what we call the PHI. Those initials, PHI stands for pre-harvest interval, which is the waiting period between the period between the day that chemical is applied and the time this chemical have been broken down and the toxicity will have expired. That is the time, that is the period which is indicated on the bottle, which is known as pre-harvest interval, PHI. Sometimes it's written in WP, waiting period or withholding period. You find it on any bottle of pesticide that you buy. But do the farmers follow that religiously? On the contrary, they don't. What the smallholder farmers do, when they buy that pesticide and use it, the chemical will be written that they've got to wait for 7 days. But here's what happens in real life. The farmer will see that the price of tomato at Soweto market has risen from 150 to 300 kwacha per crate, and the chemical still has 3 more days to expire. The farmer will pick their tomato and rush their tomato to the market. Now, when they get that tomato to the market, you as a non-suspecting customer who is going to buy that tomato, you don't know that this chemical, they cut short and harvested that crop before the chemical expired. You are going to enjoy and eat that succulent fruit of tomato, and your soup will be looking nice and tasty. But there, what you have done is you have also eaten the poison. Now, the question is, why are we not dying after eating that toxic, those poisons? That's the question I know that is going to ring in your minds. When the chemical has taken 4 days, and that chemical is supposed to take 7 days, the chemical will have passed over the stage of what we call acute poisoning. Acute poisoning is the poisoning which will come with the symptoms, where the people are going to show the symptoms. They are going to start manifesting those symptoms of poisoning, and then they are going to be rushed to the hospital, where the medical doctors will have to identify the poison and then also help them out medically to make sure that that poison is removed from their body. So that poisoning is actually more dangerous, the one which is known as terminal or chronic poisoning. So the chemical will show no symptoms to the consumer, but that consumer was eating that tomato, the next time you are going to find them on that 4 or 5 story building, the cancer hospital, after those chemicals have accumulated because they are carcinogenic material. So that is how these chemicals are abused. West still carry your own survey. I've been to markets, I've been to Soweto market, I've been to Bowden market, I've conducted an interview with the traders. There is this thing that is happening there, where the traders want to see the spots of the pesticide on the tomato that you are selling. If you bring your tomato which are washed up and they are looking very clean, the assumption by those traders is that you were not spraying with the pesticide. So as a result, they will bypass and reject your tomato. So most of the farmers have been tempted to even use some pesticide so that it can leave the spot during the time when they are taking it to the market. Take a survey, walk around the market and see what you are going to see. You are going to find a chemical called mancozeb, mostly on the fruit of tomato that you are buying. So these things are real. So that's the reason why we have taken this proactive role to make sure that our farmers come to understand that there are alternatives. As a company, we are producing biological product. Let's talk about our biological product first of all. Lactic acid bacillus. From the time I'm spraying it, if my sprayer is pure, like my sprayers are using only on organic and biological product, they are not used with any synthetic chemical. We don't lend out our sprayers because we want to maintain the organic farming on our farm. What happens ultimately there? You realize that you can spray our lactic acid bacillus. Immediately you spray, you are going to see the death of all the insects, but you can harvest your produce within 3 hours from the time you sprayed because there is no chemical residue. These products are made from food. Some of the things that we use to make the lactic acid bacillus are food. I'll probably share with you the information that we use to make the lactic acid bacillus. The lactic acid bacillus in this office is made from from two products. We get what we call the rice water, then we take the fresh milk and ferment them. Then after that, we take what we call the mother culture, the bacterium, and the mother culture, the fungus. Those are the only things that we infuse into that water, which was once milky water, which was once rice water. And that product, when you take it in the field, it performs miracles by killing all kind of insects, all kind of diseases. So you can see it is food. Therefore, you don't expect it to poison you. You don't expect it to cause cancers. You don't expect it to have any carcinogenic material because it is made from the food that we eat. That's how we make these ones. What about our organic fertilizer? How do we make it? We make it through the process of fermentation. We use the cow manure, goat manure, we use chicken manure. Then from there, we bring in what we call the plant enzymes. These plant enzymes are plants that we have planted on our farm, and they are grown using the same fertilizer. So they are not using any chemical compounds. Apart from that, we take what we call the mother cultures. Again, we bring in the culture, which we are culturing, like the way we have seen there, the trichoderma. But we have got different cultures, which are fungus, and other cultures, which are bacteria. We use those ones and diffuse them into our organic fertilizer, which comes in a liquid form. So the time you are going to spray your maize will blossom within a short period of time. You realize that your maize is doing so well. So these are the cultures that we are using. Why are we doing this? We want to farm with nature. Most of you who spray pesticides on your farm, especially the growers of crops like tomato, because tomato is one of the crops which takes a lot of pesticides. That's the reason why tomato is one of the most dangerous crops grown in this country, Zambia. It's because you do too many indiscriminatory killing pesticides. The time you are going to spray a very strong pesticide on your tomato, it is going to kill both good and bad insects, including the bees. Now, you and me know that for the plant to grow and make the flowers, it needs those bees for pollination purposes. Now, you have killed even the bees which are supposed to help produce. So by so doing, how are you going to increase your production? So those are some of the things you need to be looking at. So then, as you are struggling with that, you need to understand that these culture practices that we are using, they are responsible for our even low yield that we experience in the field. You can't take a chemical that is going to kill all the bees, and even the time of spraying again, you don't know. You spray the chemical in the morning. The whole day, the bees are accessing that chemicals when it is still at the peak, and you eliminate all the bees. What is it that is going to use to help you do the pollination? So those are things that we need to look at as we are talking about this culture. It's important. So using our biological product that we make in this office, you can go and sleep in peace and tranquility in your home, because you know there is nothing good that is dying. Your bees will still be flying around getting the nectar. They will not be killed by lactic acid bacillus, because lactic acid bacillus does not kill bees. But any chewing insect that come to eat your plant, they will die. Any sucking insect that will come to eat to suck the juice or the sap from your plants are going to die. Anything that is bad is going to die, but all the good things will be preserved. That's the more reason why we are encouraging you to contact Exotic Green Power Enterprises to start getting these biological products. We have them in abundance, so they are fermented here. I don't know if my camera will be able to show you enough. Those drums you are seeing there, they are full of nothing but these products that we are talking about. They are completely full of those products. So these products are readily available. You just walk into our office, you get yourself, and as you go and try it on your farm and see the miracle that is going to happen in your farm. When I have a better gadget for me to show you properly, I will show you how they have performed, because we have done extensive demonstration plots before we brought this product to start telling you about them. We took them in the field and tried them and saw that they have performed the miracles. The yield that we get after using these products, 1.5 the normal yields when you use the synthetic fertilizers. They have worked on all the fruit trees. Some of you saw the video that I posted here, where I was treating an orchard that we are managing at Silverest here in Lusaka. The orchard which was aborting the fruits, but after using our biological product, our organic fertilizer known as Hyperfeed organic fertilizer, you saw how it stopped aborting the fruits, and the fruit remained intact to the plant until the point of harvesting. The quality of the fruit was good because the taste was perfect. When you eat these products that we are talking about, which are grown organically, their taste is perfect. You can grow the vegetables which are organically grown, and then you find that the taste will be always above the normal taste of what you have been eating all along. So that's the more reason why you probably need to try our product by coming over here at Exotic Green Power Enterprises. And as you come here, believe you me, we are going to show you what you are supposed to do and what you have been missing all along when you have been growing these ones using synthetic. Your soils will not die, your soils will remain alive. And as your soils remain alive, the next thing that is going to happen is that because your soils have remained alive, then you and your children and your great-grandchildren will still benefit because you are not killing your soil. So I've given you the full package, how the soil get killed in there. So you can see that it is what we call the farming practices that we use. The method that we are using to farm are the ones that are responsible for the destruction of our soil. So what are you thinking now? Are you going to continue denaturing your soil, destroying it, without following the right procedures of how to farm? Even when you have got alternatives here, it's a high time you just walked in here and come and find out exactly what we do. We don't just tell you, but we guide you step by step on what you should do. We'll tell you the dosage. We'll tell you how to work on your soil. We are going to explain to you how to bring back your soil to life. The more reason why Exotic Green Power Enterprises is a brand name in the horticulture business is because we teach people what they need to learn. We teach you what you are supposed to know, how to manage your soils. The first thing that you are supposed to do, you need to understand that the soil, being the host, being the house for your plants, is more important than even the equipment that you are going to buy. Because if you lose the equipment, you can go and buy it again. But once you destroy your soil, you cannot walk over to the shop and buy another farm. The land has become so expensive, and you need to get the optimal yield from that land and become rich. You cannot keep on destroying the soil just because you want to make quick money and without understanding what you are doing there. You are deceiving yourself. It is not sustainable. Sustainability is all about meeting today's needs, but without compromising the future needs. So that's the more reason why you should farm with us as Exotic Green Power Enterprises Limited. It's important that you do that, because if you don't learn to do that, then you realize that you have got serious challenges in your farming. As a result, your farming will be questionable. When you are growing crops and your pocket is full of money and people are dying at the cancer hospital, you don't get proud of that. That is nonsense. When you are growing the crops, today you are counting a lot of money, but tomorrow you are not going to use that land again because you have not conserved the land. That is also nonsense. The reason is simple. Your future generation have got nowhere to farm from. The reason why you have got that 90 years title on that farm is because you have got children, grandchildren and great-grandchildren who are supposed to farm on that farm, but you have destroyed it because of shortcuts. Some of the things that you do, which you were taught by the people who did not even mean well to you, you just follow this. When they told you need 4 bags of fertilizers, they never told you how to apply. I've been to farms where people will apply the whole handful in 2-3 plants. Over 100 grams of fertilizer on one plant. What are you doing? You are destroying your soil. That fertilizer is depositing the acidity in the soil because it's a chemical compound. But there's no one who told you that. All they told you, they gave you some useful information and useless information. They told you need 200 kgs of fertilizer. How it is applied, how many grams you need per plant. Nobody told you that. Now today I've told you just need a teaspoon, 5 grams. Is what the plant of maize need for your fertilizer. Try to follow that one and see how your plant is going to work. You realize that you'll be farming for years without denaturing your soil because you are doing the right thing. So, the numbers to contact are there. You can share this to as many people as possible. We are not ashamed. Our products are of superior quality. We manufacture them not to harm your soil, not to harm your crop. there is no overdose. You can feed the plant as many times as you want, but your plant will still produce the best result. You are going to see it for yourself. The next thing that I need to do is to show you how the fields are looking, which I've used these products. So unfortunately that I need to find the technology which I'm going to use to make sure that what I'm talking to you right now, you can see it out there. I think I've figured out what I need to do so that you can be able to see that one. So I'll be talking to you about the Hyperfeed organic fertilizer, about lactic acid bacillus, and also about our next coming product, which is called Trichoderma, which we expect to have in the shortest possible time. And also to give you an assurance that you can be an organic farmer who is getting the best yield, the best produce, the produce that have got a high, long shelf life, and also the product that have high quality, because by nature, they are grown using what we call biological products. So as a result, you become one of the best farmers in Zambia. What more should I say other than saying thanks so much and good night. God bless you.